I always felt I had a solid life, a predictable, quiet one, the kind of life a guy works for, earns, and retains. My name is Daniel Thompson, and up until the time everything broke apart, I believed I had established something real. A career, a marriage, a family, stability. Looking back, I should have spotted the fissures, the subtle alterations, the way my wife Carla smiled less, how my daughter Sophia grew more distant. But it's interesting how the mind works. It filters out what it doesn't want to deal with. It convinces you that a teenager's mood swings are typical, that a wife's tiredness is just life, that nothing is wrong when everything is rotting beneath the surface. For 20 years, Carla and I made a life together. We weren't perfect, but we were a team. I worked as a civil engineer, constructing the structures people passed by every day without a second thought. My job was strong, reliable, just like I thought my marriage was. Carla was a housewife, a woman who had once been full of warmth, joy, and an energy that could light up a room. Somewhere along the years, that laughter diminished. I chalked it up to life. Sophia, our only child, was 17, full of the usual teenage indifference. She had her own world, friends, a phone always in her hand, and an attitude that made me wonder where my little girl had gone. Still, I never worried. Not really. She was a good student, stayed out of trouble, or at least the kind of trouble I knew about. Yet, if I had been paying attention, I would have seen it sooner. The quiet at dinner. The way Carla and Sophia exchanged glances while I spoke, as if they shared a secret only. They were allowed to know. The way Carla had grown more protective of her phone, always pulling the screen away when I walked into the room. At first, I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid, but there's a certain instinct a man develops after years of marriage. A gut feeling that gnaws at you, whispers in your ear that something is off, that something doesn't seem right. And mine was screaming. The last week before my life imploded was the oddest one. Everything was normal, and yet I could feel an invisible change. The way Carla's smile felt forced when I kissed her on the cheek before work. The way Sophia barely noticed me anymore. One particular night stands out the most. The last time I sat at the dinner table as a father, a husband, a man who still believed he had a family. It was just the three of us, as always. The house was quiet, except for the clinking of silverware against plates. Carla had made chicken and rice, one of my favorites, but I barely tasted it. Sophia sat across from me, scrolling through her phone. Every now and then she smirked at something on the screen. Carla sat at the end of the table, a peculiar smile on her lips as she picked at her food. Something was off. I cleared my throat, setting my fork down. "Sophia, how was school today?" "Typical," she muttered, not even looking up. I forced a smile. "That's not an answer," she sighed, finally lifting her head. Her eyes were blank, as if talking to me was a chore. "It was fine, Dad. Nothing interesting." I glanced at Carla, expecting her to step in, to encourage her to engage, but she just kept that same unreadable smile. Then she said it. "You should talk more with your father. He makes an effort to be present." Something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. It wasn't warm, it wasn't encouraging. It was robotic, like a script, as if she was saying something she didn't actually believe. Sophia rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Mom, you always do this. Just leave me alone." And just like that, she pushed back her chair and walked away. I looked at Carla. "That was unnecessary," she shrugged. "She needs to learn respect." But her voice was distant, cold. I wanted to ask what was really going on. I wanted to scream, "Carla, what is this? Why do I feel like a stranger in my own home?" But I didn't. Instead, I sighed and rubbed my temples. "It's just a phase." Carla didn't answer. She simply nodded and went back to eating. Something was wrong, but I told myself it was nothing. That night, I lay in bed beside my wife, staring at the ceiling. I could hear her breathing, slow, steady, but I knew she wasn't asleep. I thought about all the little things, the secrecy, the glances between her and Sophia, the shift in the air. It wasn't a phase. It was something more, something worse. I just didn't know it yet. Speak the truth. She flinched. Carla eventually spoke, her voice smooth, rehearsed. Daniel, please, we made mistakes. We didn't realize. I turned to her, my chest tight with something unpleasant, something too big to contain. Faults? I echoed. Mistakes? That's what she called it? Like she had spilled a glass of wine on the carpet. Like she had neglected to pick up groceries. Not like she had wrecked my life. The hatred refused to die. Something inside me snapped. I took a step closer. My fists clenched. You took everything from me, I whispered. You and your lies. You left me to rot while you built a new life. While you... I cut myself off, shivering with wrath. I wanted to scream. I wanted to harm them the way they wounded me. But I couldn't. Because no matter how much I wanted it, nothing could take back what they had done. Nothing could restore those years. And then Carla did the one thing I should have expected. She reached for me. She actually tried to touch me, like she believed I'd welcome her back with open arms. I moved back so fast it seemed like I was avoiding a bite. Don't! I snapped. Don't you dare! Sophia's breakdown Sophia sank to her knees right there in the middle of the parking lot. She wailed, gasping for breath. Please, she begged. I just want my dad back. I was dumb. I was young. I didn't... I turned to her, my mouth tight. You didn't care, I said. That's what you didn't do. You stood there and watched them take me. And now, when it's convenient for you, when you want your father back, you decide to feel guilty. She cried harder. I should have felt something. Pity, remorse. But there was nothing left in me for her. Because she wasn't my daughter anymore. She made that choice when she called me a monster in front of the world. And now, she had to deal with it. The cold goodbye Carla stepped forward again. Desperate now. We can repair this, Daniel. Please, just come home. I laughed, that same bitter chuckle. Home? I repeated. I don't have a home. You took that from me. She opened her mouth, but I shook my head. Save it. I don't want your apologies. I don't want your excuses. I don't want anything from any of you. I turned away. I started walking. Sophia cried behind me. Dad, please. I didn't stop. I didn't glance back. Because I wasn't her dad anymore, and she wasn't mine. Reflection. I thought leaving them behind would make me feel free. Yet freedom doesn't come that easily. Because what do you do when the people you love the most become the ones who wrecked you? How do you start over when the past still clings to you like a scar that will never fade? I didn't know, but one thing was sure. I wasn't going to waste another second of my life thinking about them. As I walked away from Carla and Sophia outside the prison, I believed it would be the end of it. That I could enter into my new life like a man stepping out of a burning building, scarred but free. I was mistaken, because freedom isn't the same as peace. Freedom is merely the absence of chains. But the ghosts, the rage, the memories, they don't disappear simply because the jail door opens, and for the first time in 17 years, I had to figure out who I was without the weight of their treachery, crushing me. Nowhere to go, no one to turn. To the bus ride away from that prison felt unreal. For 17 years, my life had been chilly cement walls, screaming convicts, and the continual knowing that I didn't belong there. Now I was just a man sitting alone in the rear of a bus, carrying a plastic bag containing the few possessions the state decided to give back to me. No home, no job, no family, no future, simply freedom and it tasted nasty. I tried phoning the only ones who might still care. My old pal Marcus? Straight to voicemail. Tread, my brother Leo? Disconnected. I wasn't surprised. 17 years is a long time to be abandoned. But knowing that didn't make it sting any less. A job nobody else wanted. I spent the first 2 days in a halfway house. The place stank of desperation. Ex-cons, men who barely talked, those who jerked like they were still evading punches in the backyard. I didn't belong there, but I didn't belong anyplace. Then came the biggest issue, getting a job. I tried everything. Building? Too risky. Factory employment? They spotted my record and laughed. Even the blasted grocery shop rejected me. No one wants a man who spent nearly 2 decades in prison, no matter what the documentation says regarding a fake conviction. Then I got lucky, or as lucky as a man like me could be. A farm out in Silverwood County needed a laborer. The owner, Mr. Callahan, was in his 70s. He didn't ask many questions, didn't appear to care about my past. He just stared at me, took in the way my hands were scarred, the way my shoulders were stiff, and stated, "You work hard, I don't. Ask questions. That fair?" I nodded. Because work was labor, and I wanted anything to prevent me from thinking too much. Hard job, honest work.